So have you ever wanted to be a podcaster? Raise your hand. Now, why haven't you done it? Is it because it's been too hard? Maybe you didn't know someone. Maybe it wasn't something you thought you could do because you couldn't edit the audio or you didn't know how to post it on the internet. Well, I'm here today to help you help yourself become a podcaster. My name is Stachiw. I'm editor-in-chief of cultureshock.com. I'm currently a master's student at the University of North Texas, and I'm doing this presentation for ATTD 5121, and that is in the fall session at the University of North Texas. And my presentation is Listen Up. So you want to be a podcaster? A little bit about me. Like I said, I'm the editor-in-chief of cultureshock.com. We're a pop culture website that offers movie reviews, video game reviews, and 3 weekly podcasts. Those 3 weekly podcasts are the Culture Cast, where me and my guests and co-hosts talk about movies and normally talk about whatever we really want. We also have a Chronicles from the Crypt podcast, where we talk about Chronicles from the Crypt in a retrospective fashion, going from the beginning of the show all the way to the end of the show. We're about halfway through the show right now. We've been doing the podcast for about 6 months. And then the other show that we do is the Running the Ropes podcast, where we talk about wrestling, pro wrestling, and the pay-per-views every month. We don't do that one weekly as much as once a month, because the pay-per-views are only once a month. I've been working on audio editing for about a year, 2 years now, and I have over 200 podcasts edited under my belt. That might not seem like a lot, but in the span of a year and a half, 2 years, that makes about one podcast. I guess it would be 4 podcasts a week, which might not seem like a lot, but it is. And in case any of you are interested, horror is my favorite genre of movie, and my favorite horror film has to be Wes Craven's New Nightmare. But let's talk a little bit about podcasting. So getting started, I've passed out to you guys each a worksheet. That worksheet will help you guys determine your theme that you're going to want to come up with. It should be something you feel strongly about. I feel really strongly about movies. I'm pretty opinionated when it comes to movies. But there are a lot of other things, people are really interested in. It could be gardening or personal finance. It could be video games. Really anything that you feel strongly enough about to sit down and be able to talk with someone else, or maybe even just yourself, for 45 minutes about. I mean, if you were unable to talk about your topic for more than 20 minutes, people would be able to tell, and they wouldn't want to listen to it. It should also be something that you can do more than once. If you just want to talk about, I don't know, if you only want to talk about one movie once, it's not really a podcast as much as just, I don't even know what you would consider that, an audio episode of something, or you having a conversation. You could talk about horror movies in general. You could talk about your favorite TV show and watch it from the beginning to the end. You could talk about, one of my favorite podcasts is Hardcore History, where they talk about just history, and they talk about specific parts of history like World War I or World War II. Each episode is about 3 hours long, and there's 6 episodes for one war, so that's like 18 hours worth of content. And it doesn't have to be topical either. It doesn't have to be something recent. You don't have to talk about new movies per se. You can talk about a certain genre of movie. You can talk about, certain era in sports or video games or whatever your topic is. It doesn't have to be topical. It just has to be interesting. If it's interesting, your audience will be engaged. And that's ultimately the point of being a podcaster, is to engage an audience and bring them back every week to want to listen to what you're talking about. It is possible to podcast by yourself, but I personally wouldn't suggest it. It's pretty hard. It's easier to riff off of someone else than to just sit and talk yourself. I've had a co-host since the beginning. The co-host and I actually came up with the idea together. I had wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it by myself. And someone I knew stepped in and said, "Hey, let's do this together. I know a little bit about audio editing," and I learned a lot from him about how to audio edit. But you need to have a co-host, at least one. I know some friends of mine who podcast, and they have 4 people. I think that's a little much. I've had 4 people on a podcast at once with myself and my co-host and 2 guests. But I think 4 is the limit. After that, it just kind of becomes a yelling fest with a bunch of other people trying to yell over one another. And like I said, the more hosts you have, the less time each person is given to talk, which to be honest here, point of being on a podcast is to get your opinion out about whatever it may be. And if you're not given enough time to do so, then what's the point of doing it? You need to have a good repertoire with the people. On the Culture Cast, we sometimes have people that work in the industry, and I've talked with them before, but my co-host hasn't. And so I try to talk with them, with me and them and my co-host, at least 30 minutes ahead of time, so we can kind of establish a repertoire and see how we're going to riff off of one another. And keep in mind, you can have guest co-hosts that are your friends or family, or like I said, industry professionals. Industry professionals will probably lend some credence to what you're talking about and make you seem more professional as opposed to just three dudes sitting talking about movies. If you get people that are involved in filmmaking, involved in your podcast, and sit down and willing to talk with you, or someone who is a teacher or an expert in their field, people will take you more seriously. And for someone like me whose profession is running a website, it's important to be taken seriously. If you're just doing this for fun, then by all means, don't go for industry professionals. But if this is something you want to do seriously, industry professionals are a really good option. So here's some recording options. You have a couple. If you're not recording in person, and I've only recorded in person a couple times, you're going to want to use Skype. Skype is a really great tool. It's free for the most part, unless you're having to call people on their cell phone. It's a really great platform to call over the internet. You can pay to have a Skype number and then call people to their cell phones for another nominal fee. It's not too expensive. It's actually cheaper than what I pay for my iPhone every month, which is like $150. If you're doing it in person, however, Audacity is a really great open source digital audio editor. Open source means it's free. Anyone can download it. Anyone can make mods for it, which allows you to do things that maybe weren't in the base product. Audacity is really great. Like I said here, it has 76.5 million downloads, which that's a lot of downloads for a open source product. I would say it's the best open source program I've ever used for anything, because it consistently works and it barely ever crashes, even on a computer that doesn't have the processing power of, say, a really high-end desktop. Now, when you're not in person, you're going to need a way to record over Skype. There's no way to record over Skype. Skype's just used to talk and interface. You're going to need to be able to record over Skype. Pamela for Skype is a for-pay program that allows you to record Skype. It also has the ability to put soundboards in and all sorts of really deep customizable stuff. It's good. It's not worth paying, I want to say $25 for a license for it. It's just not worth it. MP3 Skype Recorder, on the other hand, is a non-commercial use program that allows you to record through Skype. It's bare bones. You hit one button, it records your call. You hit another button, it turns off recording. If you're doing this, that's pretty much all you need, because you can do everything else in Audacity. But, for someone who's looking to not spend a lot of money, MP3 Skype Recorder is your best option. It's free. Pamela does have more options, but I'm not going to pay $25. I haven't. You shouldn't. You get the same quality once you put it through Audacity, so it's just not worth it. There's really a lot of options when it comes to recording and the equipment that you have. You don't really need a great computer. Most of your laptops that you have will be perfectly fine. But you're going to need a microphone of some caliber of value. Your audio is only going to be as good as the thing you're recording it on. I use the Blue Yeti USB microphone. It's about a $100 microphone, but it is about as good as it can get for the price. $100 is pretty good for a high-end microphone. And on the bottom of the microphone, there's a headphone jack where you can plug your headphones in. And the headphones that I use are the Sennheiser HD 280 Pro headphones. They're not noise canceling, but they're used by professionals. They're a really good headphone. They're about $100 as well. You don't have to use either one of those. You can use a gaming headset with a microphone. Will the quality be as good? No. But for the most part, if you're just doing this for fun or just doing it for the first time, you don't need anything that's $100. And I also have a foam windscreen on mine so that it cuts down on the breathing into the microphone. As you'll notice on the microphone, there's actually a little There's a knob that allows you to turn up the volume and turn it down, but there's also a button that you can mute and unmute the microphone, which helps with breathing into the microphone and, you know, any extraneous noises that may be happening in the background, like, say, dogs barking or cars driving by. The headphone, like I said, the headphone microphone combinations are more economical. Like, they run about $20-25. The gaming ones, like the ones that are made by Razer and SteelSeries, are really, really good. They're really expensive. A Razer headset will run you about $80, but that's a headset and a microphone as opposed to paying $100 for each separately. That's a good option if you're looking to spend a little bit of money but don't want to spend $250. And like I say here, the microphone that you want to use if you're looking for standalone is Blue Yeti. They also sell a Stowball microphone that runs about $60. It's a little small microphone as opposed to a large standing microphone. The quality of that is still pretty good, but, you know, like I said, you can get middle of the road microphone and still get pretty good quality out of it as long as you put it through the Audacity editing process we're going to be talking about here in a second. So your recording is only as good as your equipment, but it's also only as good as the room you have to record in. I've been in a situation a couple times where the room I've recorded in has drastically affected the quality of the audio to the point where we can't use it due to the reverberation, which is the echoes coming off of the walls due to the high ceilings. You need to find a room that is square, not rectangular, and you can't soundproof unless you have a soundproof studio, and I don't have a soundproof studio, and I doubt you will. If you do, great, go use it. Ask to borrow that person's studio. But in reality, you're just going to have to find a room in your house that you can set up that will offer the most soundproof options without compromising the quality of the audio due to maybe it's near a window or it's near kind of the front of your house where cars are driving by. Another thing that a lot of people early on make a big mistake with is recording etiquette. And this has happened with some of my writers. Don't click pens and fiddle around with stuff when you're recording unless you have it muted, because it will come through. If you're sitting and clicking a pen while talking, click, 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 and if you're clicking a pen while talking, you can't remove the clicking sound from the talking. If someone else is talking and you're clicking a pen, you can remove that because it'll be on two separate tracks. But if someone's clicking a pen and talking, you can't remove that if it's the same person who's clicking the pen that is talking. So best etiquette is just mute yourself when you're not talking. You don't need to be blurting out and interrupting people anyways, because that'll just screw up the audio quality anyways. Like I said, don't talk over one another. It's just, on top of common courtesy, it's just harder to edit something when two people are talking over one another. You end up just having to cut parts of the podcast that may be some really good stuff because it's unintelligible or you can't tell what's going on. And make sure to leave yourself 15 seconds of silence after you hit the record button, either on the front end or the back end of the recording, so that you can use that noise profile to reduce the noise when you get to the end of, or when you get to the editing of the podcast. Now, I'm going to walk through the steps, and then when you see my technical demonstration, you'll be able to see it in kind of a better explained way as opposed to just type on a screen. If you're using Audacity to record, there's just a huge record button. Once you get set up, you just hit the button, and it should record. You can talk into it to make sure it's testing, and you'll see the track in the center. It'll have the blue kind of bars go up and down and grow, and that'll show that audio is coming into the program. If you're using MP3 Skype recorder, when you start, it will start automatically when you run the program. It'll ask if you want to record the call and just hit yes. And if you're using Pamela, there's another red button that you'll press and it'll just start recording the call. Like I said, I would keep your first recording to 10 to 15 minutes. Just the first time, so you can get a hang of the audio editing that I'm going to talk about. The audio editing is harder the longer the podcast gets, especially if you want to incorporate other elements, like say you're doing a podcast about finance and you have an interview with someone, you want to incorporate that. It just gets harder to keep everything, especially in the early goings of podcast editing, trying to keep everything straight. And you need to make sure you have a definite middle, beginning, and end. You don't want to open the podcast and then when you're getting towards the end be like, all right, thank you so much for listening, and then be like, oh, but wait, I want to, and keep talking again. Doing kind of false endings like that isn't great. It's not a good way of getting your audience engaged by giving them a sense that it's over and then they turn it off, but there's still more to talk about. And really have fun. If this isn't fun, if you're doing this for fun and you're not having fun, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it, because this is supposed to be fun for you and everyone involved. And relax. You have to relax while doing this, because if you're rushed and forced and you feel like you can't, talk, then it's going to come through and the audio is not going to sound very good and people are going to be able to pick up on it. It might not be video, but people can pick up when you're really not relaxed and comfortable with recording. Now, for this demonstration, we're going to be using Audacity to record and edit. Audacity is the easiest to work with when it comes to recording and editing. If you record in person, you're already ahead of the curve here, because you don't have to import anything; it'll already be in Audacity. If you record it through MP3, Skype Recorder, or Pamela, then you'll have to open your file in the File tab and import it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find that 15 seconds that we were talking about and highlight it, and then click the Effect tab, scroll down to Noise Reduction, and then in Noise Reduction you're going to want to hit a button that says Get Noise Profile. Once you do that, it'll bring you back to the screen. You're going to want to go to Effect, Noise Reduction again, and then click OK, and it will take all of the extraneous noise out of the recording without you having to do anything. It's automatic. All you have to do is get the noise profile. A lot of the podcasting stuff is pretty easy. The big stuff is easy. The little stuff, the fine-tuning is a different story. Truncating silence is a godsend. If there's a lot of ums and pauses and long pauses, if you use truncating silence, it will remove them automatically. So what you want to do is you go to Effects, Truncate Silence, and then just hit OK. The default settings are good enough for you right now. You can fine-tune them the farther you go along. But for right now, truncating silence, the default settings are fantastic. Once you hit OK, it will just compact everything automatically. You don't have to do anything. It is that easy. It'll take a 20-minute recording and probably compact it down to 18 and a half minutes, maybe more, depending on how many silences there are. But truncating silence, it's automatic. All you have to do is just click a couple buttons. Compressor is another automatic process that you can run in Audacity. It levels out certain areas of the audio, like some areas where you're talking really soft and other areas where you're talking too loud. It will level them against one another so that it can make sure that it all kind of sounds uniform and make sure that people aren't having to strain to listen or having to turn it down when you talk too loud. Again, to do that, you just go to Effects and hit Compressor and then hit OK. The default settings are perfectly fine. I've never messed with them because I don't see a point. So you just hit OK and it'll compress everything, and you'll notice certain areas get taller, certain areas get smaller. Now manual editing is when you have to go in and listen to the track and cut out certain areas. You'll see this button here. It looks like a pair of scissors. There's a button called the Selection tool, and you're going to want to highlight areas of the track that are not what you want. Say someone coughing or someone's flubbing a word or something, and you can highlight it and click that button, and it'll just cut it out and it'll push the tracks together. It essentially just pushes the tracks together and cuts the area out. And I would listen on your first go through recording. I would just listen to the whole thing and cut out parts. You may down the road not have to if you noticed when you're recording, I didn't oh, I didn't make any mistakes. Another good way to do it is when you start recording, if you have a pen and paper in front of you, to take down notes on the times when you made mistakes, so when you have to go back, you can just edit them out really quick and not have to listen to the whole track. Because sometimes with things that are 2 or 3 hours in length, you don't want to have to go back and listen to the whole 2-3 hour track. And so to finish your recording, you want to export it. You go to File, Export, and then hit Save As Type. And in that scroll bar, you're going to want to pick MP3. MP3 is the best quality that you're going to be able to get coming out of Audacity, and it's also the best quality audio that I've used. It also doesn't kick out such a large file that you can't upload it to most websites. The website that I use has 160 megabyte restriction on the audio file, and if you used, say, a WAV file, it would be much too big. And then you export that audio to a folder of your choosing. Now, I use iTunes for my hosting, but that's because I have my own website and I can just push it to iTunes. If you don't have your own website, which I'm assuming you don't, Spreaker is going to be your best option. Spreaker is a pretty straightforward, easy-to-use website that allows you to just make an account, go on there, and upload your audio, and that's it. And you can give people the link to your audio, and they don't have to do anything else. You have to do nothing. You can input the title, maybe add a picture to your album cover, as it were, but you don't have to do anything. So you just go on to Spreaker and create your own account, and then you're going to want to go to Create, and then upload audio, and that's it. You'll have 10 hours for free, which is more than enough for most people to get going. I wouldn't use Spreaker for more than the 10-hour audio cap because it gets extremely expensive afterwards. I want to say for unlimited, it's like $1,200. Or you can use SoundCloud, which, again, has an audio cap limit. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but if you want to get something up quickly and easily, SoundCloud is another great option. So that's it. If after all this, you've recorded your very first podcast, all you have to do is do it another 100 times, 200 times, and then you'll finally start getting the hang of it. It's a learning process. I've been learning since I started doing it. There's always a new challenge or new audio thing you have to figure out, or a flub that you have to erase, or God knows what. I've seen everything. I feel like I've seen everything, but I'm sure I haven't. And, it's fun, but it's challenging, especially if you want to start incorporating movie trailers and music and a soundboard. It's just, the more stuff you incorporate, the more challenging it'll be, but it'll also be more rewarding for you and your listeners. So I'm going to leave this slide here, and we'll transition to the technical demonstration aspect of the presentation. If you have any further questions, make sure to contact me at chris@cultureshock.com. That's on the piece of paper in front of you. I'll be sticking around after the presentation to answer any questions you may have. And please make sure to fill out your training evaluating presentation form to help me out with any further presentations I may be doing, and let me know how I did. Thank you so much for sitting down and listening to my presentation about podcasting. It's as much fun as it sounds, and whatever you put into it, you'll get it back out. And have a great day.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the technical demonstration part of the presentation. I'm going to be showing you how to import audio to Audacity for editing, also how to reduce noise, truncate silence, manually edit the audio, and also compress it, as well as exporting it and uploading it to Spreaker.com so that you can listen to your podcast and let other people listen to it. So let's take it step by step. Let's import some audio to Audacity. So I already have my test audio here in the UNT presentation folder. It's an MP3, and you can see it is 33 seconds long. So, all right, so make sure that you have the little selection tool highlighted. You'll notice that the audio is about 33 seconds long. So the first thing you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to reduce the noise that is present in the recording. You're going to want to highlight the area here that is completely dead silent. Go to Effect, go to Noise Reduction, hit Get Noise Profile. Then you're going to want to hit Effect again, Noise Reduction. After clicking on the entire audio by clicking here in this blank space and hit OK, you're going to want to have this set to 18, 10, and reduce, and then hit OK. And it didn't do a whole lot because this is a really short amount of audio. So moving on to truncating silence. Truncating silence will remove any silences longer than a duration you deem necessary. So as you can see here, detect silence, it's saying negative 40 decibels, so almost less than inaudible. The duration is half of a second that it's detecting as silence, and it's going to truncate it down to 0.2 of a second. So about a fifth of a second is when it's going to truncate those half of a seconds down to. So you're going to want to hit OK, and you're going to watch that go from 33 seconds to 31 seconds, effectively cutting 2 seconds off of the length of the audio. Next, you're going to want to compress the entire piece of audio. Compressing it will amplify certain areas of the audio, like this area, and also make some other areas, like maybe this area right here or this area here. It'll normalize it a little bit. So you just go to Effect, Compressor, and just hit OK. The default settings are fine. So it fixed some of these areas here. It amplified a little bit of the other areas to make it a little bit more even and level for listening to. And so after that, we're going to want to manually edit anything else out that we weren't happy with in the recording. Like this area here. Obviously, this area is where I was coughing. So you're just going to want to highlight it using the selection tool and then click this, what looks like a scissor button. It'll cut it right out, and there you go. And that's really it for manual editing. You can also edit out some other things. I mean, if you deem necessary, manually editing really gives you as the audio editor, the option to edit out what you find important, not what the computer is just finding on its own. And as you can see, I accidentally left this little bit in, and that's actually good because you always want to listen to your audio before you export it. Because the last thing you want to do is post a podcast and then have someone call you and say, hey, there's someone saying I'm going to cut this part out in the podcast, and it wasn't cut out. Not saying that's ever happened to me, which it has, but it's better to catch these now before you run into any, problems with posting or have a sloppily made podcast posted on the internet. So let's cut that part out. That'll take it down to 27 seconds. So it took about 6 seconds off after all the editing was completed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to File, and we're going to save the project. And this will save the project. This is not an audio file. This is the project file. So if you ever reopen it in Audacity, you'll essentially be opening back to this screen with all of your compressing and truncating already done, which is a really good way to kind of make sure that you still have your project around in case you want to go back and fix it. So let's click Save. Because it's such a short file, it won't take very long. If it's a relatively long file, it may take upwards of 2 to 3 minutes to save the project. So now that the project is saved, let's go back here and let's go to Export Audio. You'll notice here on the drop-down bar there are a lot of different options. There's AIFF, there's WAV files, there's MP3s. You're going to want to just export it as an MP3. That's the most commonly accepted audio quality. It's also the highest quality of audio you can export out of Audacity. And let's just name this Test Audio Edited. So that is the edited audio. Here you can edit the metadata. You're not going to have to mess with any of this because you're just going to do it when you get into Spreaker. So hit OK. And you can see it went really fast, and it's done because it's only 27 seconds long. So there wasn't a whole lot that that was necessary to be done in regards to exporting. I've had some exporting projects take 5 to 10 minutes to export, depending on the length. If you hit export and it starts taking a long time, just walk away, leave it. It'll do its thing, I promise. It may just take a little longer than normal, especially the longer the length of the audio, the longer it'll take to get the audio exported. All right, so now that we're done editing the audio, let's go to Spreaker.com. So here's Google Chrome. We'll type in Spreaker. Here is the Spreaker homepage. Now, as you can see, I already am logged in with my personal account here. This is the logo for the site that I work for. And if you click on that, you can go to your profile. You can see the number of plays. You can see the episodes, any shows you have, followers and following. This is the profile. You can edit all this information here. But for the sake of this presentation, let's just show you how to upload that audio that we just got done editing to the website. So you're going to want to go to Create, and then you're going to want to go to Upload. And you can see here you have RSS Importer, import all of your content to Spreaker. Then you have upload your files, upload and publish new episodes from your computer or device. They even have a desktop app which would replace Audacity. I'm not as big a fan of it as Audacity, just I've been using Audacity for over 2 years now, and I find Audacity to be a little easier to use. They have a little bit more kind of gizmos and gadgets. They have a built-in soundboard and some other kind of nifty things you can do. I mean, I don't need any of that. If I want to put a sound in, I'll just do it on Audacity. But, you know, if you're looking for a little bit more kind of flair, and it is easier in some respects, but I prefer Audacity just for the kind of wide range of options that Audacity gives you. But let's get back to this. So go to Upload. And here it says upload a file from your computer. We support MP3, MP4, WAV. And these are all the file formats that they support. So we're going to go upload a file from your computer. We're going to go here, and then UNT presentation. And you'll notice here that here's the original audio and here's the edited audio. So you're going to want to click on the edited audio and open it. And see, like I said, you don't have to edit the metadata here because you can edit all the information here. So let's say episode description, UNT presentation, audio. Download enabled. No, you can not allow people to download your audio if you feel like it. Explicit content. Obviously, there's no explicit content. So the tags. Let's do UNT. Presentation and business. So after you kind of put all this in, and mind you, this is all really what you choose for it to be. The title could be business presentation, audio, or super cool audio things. You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, hopefully you'll have kind of, once you get your show idea together, you'll have a title for every episode that you choose, and that's really up to you. But for the sake of argument here, let's just make it UNT presentation. So once this is done, you're going to want to hit publish. Now, mind you, with select a show, obviously this is not part of the Culture Cast, so let's just do UNT presentation series. I'm not going to put a picture. And there we go. So it's going to be part of the UNT presentation series. I'm going to hit publish. Your episode has been uploaded and published to the following address, UNT presentation. So if you click this link here, all right. So now we're back to this screen, and let's go back to the audio so you can listen and see the audio fully uploaded. So we're going to go here, we'll go to episodes, we'll go to UNT presentation, and you'll see that this is the presentation. Here are the hashtags that I put in, the tags. As you can see, it's done. Series. The audio is edited, is hosted online, and you know, you also, if you go back to the audio, you can actually give people a link to the audio by just giving them this link right here up in the top, and you can give that to people, and then they can come and listen to your stuff. You can also use their promotion tools. That obviously costs money, but you can still do that. You can promote your audio if you feel it necessary, and you can see it also logs the plays here, which is pretty cool as well. If you're interested in how many times it's been played, there's also statistic options here for the amount of plays that have been played on your audio. But Spreaker is a really cool tool, especially for someone who's up and coming when it comes to podcasts and doesn't want to mess with RSS burners and all sorts of other really complicated stuff that isn't really necessary when you're just kind of getting your feet below you when it comes to podcasting. I know that podcasting can seem like a daunting task, but with the right tools and the right guidance from people that that you know, or you know, other podcasters, or you know, presentations like this one, you can make something really cool and that hopefully people will want to listen to. So I hope you enjoy my presentation. I will be sticking around a little bit after this presentation to answer any questions that you might have. You can also reach out to me at chris@cultureshock.com, as I previously mentioned, on the final slide of my PowerPoint. And please make sure to fill out your training evaluation presentation form to help me out, to let me know how I did. Let me know what you thought of my presentation. And yeah, make sure you have a great day and have fun podcasting.
It's not the years, honey. It's the mileage.